Hello and welcome to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at the Cheka, the secret police. We'll take a look at the historical context, the formation and purpose, the organizational structure, some methods and operations, the Red Terror campaign, the role in the Russian Civil War, the evolution and transformation, the controversies and criticism, the cultural and literary reflections, legacy and historical significance, as well as some books and quotes. Let's start off with the historical context. The Bolshevik regime, after the October Revolution of 1917, faced immense challenges in consolidating power amid civil war, economic instability, and foreign intervention. To address internal and external threats, the Bolsheviks established a secret police force to enforce their authority and combat counter-revolutionary activities. The concept of a political police had roots in Tsarist Russia with organizations like the Okhrana, but the Cheka represented a more expansive and ruthless approach. Formation and purpose. The All-Russian Extraordinary Commission for Combating Counter-Revolution and Sabotage, short form Cheka, was established on December the 20th in 1917 by a decree from the Soviet government. The Cheka's primary mission was to eliminate opposition to Bolshevik rule, including counter-revolutionaries, saboteurs, and other perceived enemies of the state. Felix Dzerzhinsky, a dedicated Bolshevik revolutionary, was appointed as the first head of the Cheka, and his leadership defined its early organizational structure. The Cheka had its central headquarters in Moscow and a network of regional branches, Cheka outposts, throughout Soviet territory, enabling it to operate nationwide. It also included specialized departments for intelligence, counterintelligence, operations, and investigations, allowing the Cheka to handle a wide range of security tasks. Over time, the Cheka expanded its scope to include border security, economic surveillance, and suppression of political dissent. Methods and operations. The Cheka employed extensive surveillance, infiltration, and intelligence gathering techniques to identify and track opponents of the regime. Arrests and executions. It was known for summary arrests, interrogations, and executions without formal trials, often using extrajudicial methods to deal with perceived threats. It also utilized a range of repressive tactics, including torture, mass arrests, and public executions to install fear and suppress resistance. The Red Terror campaign. The assassination attempt on Lenin in August of 1918 and rising anti-Bolshevik sentiment triggered the Cheka's Red Terror campaign aimed at crushing all opposition. It involved widespread arrests, executions, and punitive measures against anyone suspected of counter-revolutionary activities, including real and perceived enemies of the state. The Red Terror established a climate of fear and repression, consolidating Bolshevik control but also leading to widespread human rights abuses and loss of life. Role in the Russian Civil War. Played a crucial role in counterintelligence, identifying and neutralizing White Army sympathizers and spies within Bolshevik-controlled areas. It enforced Bolshevik policies, including grain requisitioning and suppression of uprisings, crucial for maintaining the war effort. It established combat units, Cheka detachments, to engage in direct military actions against insurgents and opposition forces. Controversies and criticism. The Cheka was notorious for its brutal methods, including torture, executions, and mass repression, leading to widespread condemnation of its human rights abuses. It operated with significant autonomy and little oversight, contributing to abuses of power and arbitrary actions against individuals and communities. The Soviet propaganda often justified the Cheka's actions as necessary for defending the revolution, despite the ethical and legal concerns raised by its operations. The cultural and literary reflections. The Cheka's activities have been depicted in Russian and Soviet literature, reflecting the fear, brutality, and complexity of its role in the early Soviet state. The official Soviet narratives often portrayed the Cheka as a heroic defenders of the revolution, while critics and dissidents highlighted its repressive and violent nature. The Cheka's legacy influenced Soviet culture, including themes of surveillance, state control, and the omnipresence of security forces in everyday life. Legacy and historical significance. The Cheka established a model for state security that influenced Soviet and later Russian security practices, emphasizing secrecy, control, and repression. Impact on Soviet society. Its operations had a lasting impact on Soviet society, contributing to a culture of fear and compliance with state authority. Modern historians continue to reassess the Cheka's role, examining its impact on Soviet history and the ethical implications of its actions. Now, some books and quotes. The Cheka, Lenin's Political Police by George Liget. A comprehensive history of the Cheka, examining its origins, methods, and impact on Soviet politics. The Sword and the Shield. The Mitrokhin Archive and the Secret History of the KGB by Christopher Andrew and Vasyl Mitrokhin. Provides insight into the evolution of Soviet police from the Cheka to the KGB. The Commissar Vanishes. The Falsification of Photographs and Art in Stalin's Russia by David King. It discusses how the Cheka and its successors manipulated information and imagery for political purposes. Fear and the Muse Kept Watch. The Russian Masters, from Akhmanatova and Pasternak, Shostakovich and Eisenstein, under Stalin, by Andy Mack-Smith. It explores the cultural impact of Soviet state security, including the Cheka's influence on artists and intellectuals. Inside Stalin's Secret Police, NKVD Politics, 1936 to 1939, by Robert W. Thurston. It examines the legacy of the Cheka's methods in the operations of its successors, the NKVD. The Whisperers, Private Life in Stalin's Russia, by Orlando Fix. It analyzes the social impact of Soviet state security on everyday life, including the Cheka's role in shaping Soviet society. Russia under the Bolshevik regime, by Richard Pipes. Provides a detailed account of the Cheka's activities and its place in the broader context of Bolshevik governance. Now some quotes. The Cheka became the very symbol of Bolshevik ruthlessness, its methods defined by terror and a disdain for legal norms. George Liget. In the early Soviet states, the Cheka represented the iron fist of the revolution, forcing Bolshevik control through fear and repression. Richard Pipes. Dzerzhinsky's Cheka was both a sword and shield for the Bolsheviks, wielding terror to defend the revolution from its enemies. Christopher Andrew. The legacy of the Cheka's brutality casts a long shadow over Soviet society, influencing state security practices for decades to come. Robert W. Thurston. The Cheka's actions, justified as revolutionary necessity, laid the groundwork for a culture of surveillance and suspicion that persisted through Soviet history. Orlando Fix. That was all for today. Thank you for listening.